Well, welcome. I think we are going to go ahead and get started. We are super excited to have you and hope you are enjoying a lovely brunch. Welcome to Commercial 101. This is going to be the first of a series of commercial related events that GNR is hosting this year. And so we're really excited to dive in today with some 101 type of principles. I'm your host. I'm the commercial chair this year, and my name is Elizabeth Gatlin. I go by Liz, so you can see it different places in different ways. I'm the owner, broker, and architect for a boutique real estate development company, Southern Athena. We are building a beautiful South. I'm Tennessee's only licensed architect and broker, and I started my career in commercial real estate and then moved over into mixed use multifamily development and kind of touching on both residential and commercial. I have sold, leased, and designed over $175 million in real estate here in the Greater Tennessee market. I'm going to age myself a little bit, but I've been in the industry for over 10 years. I started when I was really young and just young and dumb, hit the ground running. Didn't know what I didn't know. I'm a Nashville native. I graduated from Vol, and I'm a diehard Vol fan. So if you see a Go Vol license plate out on the street, give me a double honk if you're fans. And then just some fun things about me. I've got a 3-year-old toddler. I've got
so she's tired.
I'm tired all the time. I do still love going to Broadway and getting out and about and seeing all the cool new spaces in Nashville. You'll see me at the old stuff and the new stuff, usually dragging my husband along begrudgingly and just having an amazing time. Then we've got two amazing panelists this morning for you. I'm going to get Jana Truman introduced. She is the managing director of SBN Excel Real Estate, and she has over 50 million in sales and commissions. Jana excels in marketing and pricing, creating win-win scenarios for her clients. And she's a dedicated educator and connector. Trust me when I say this, Jana knows who to call, what you need to know, and she's a straight shooter. In 2014, Jana found that real estate was her passion, then added a focus on commercial real estate advisement. Presently, she's the managing broker, and her husband also own Excel Exit Advisors, a business brokerage. So a lot of times in commercial, businesses are changing hands, leases are changing hands, people want to sell their business and their real estate. Jana's your woman.
And commercial property management.
And commercial property management, which is fabulous. If you've ever got stuck as just the broker for a lease deal, you turn into a glorified property manager often in the process. So you want to know some commercial property managers. And then we've got Jamie Bradenberg, SIOR, and he is also on our commercial committee here with GNR. He is the team lead at the Real Estate Equity Group under Championship Holdings, LLC. Jamie is a trusted advisor in commercial real estate, specializing in industrial properties and 1031 exchange transactions. He has over 25 years experience and a proven track record in acquisitions, dispositions, and leasing across industrial, retail, office, and land assets. He manages a powerhouse team here in the Middle Tennessee market. He is also a SIOR. He's licensed in both Tennessee and Alabama, and he has a network of nationwide connections with commercial brokers to serve clients across his different markets. Jamie and his team represent investors, business owners, landlords, and tenants, and they provide tailored solutions, buying, selling, and leasing commercial real estate. He is also straightforward. I think that's one of the things you have to be in commercial real estate, and solution oriented. And he prioritizes strong relationships and long-term success with his clients. One thing we will talk about today is your network is your net worth. If you didn't on your way in, grab that commercial 101 resource manual. It's got a lot of good elements for you to consider, and we will get started. All right, so we're going to cover getting into commercial real estate, and we're going to start with kind of some fail forward elements. What is one of the biggest mistakes that you have made when you first started in commercial real estate? Both of them have to really think on this with all of y'all's experience. But I'll let Dana go first.
Sure. Well, my first foray into commercial real estate, though, was as a commercial real estate appraiser. So I had a dual career. I started out as a professional artist, and that has everything to do with being a financial analyst, right? And somebody convinced me to become a commercial real estate appraiser, and I did that, and I actually got ready to get my certifications for all that, and went, I would rather have a root canal than write a 75-page math report for the rest of my life. And so I switched over and became a broker in 2014. And so that was a huge thing. So my first thing was getting to the right avenue of commercial real estate. Probably my biggest mistake early on was thinking that I was going to have someone mentor me for free.
That's really important.
And I would have, had I known then what I know now, I would have just paid the money to have a commercial coach.
Love it.
Because there were no, at the time that I was in that world, I made all the mistakes. I didn't have a mentor. I actually was on a national call a couple of days ago, and they were like, well, who are your great mentors? And I went, no one. I didn't have a mentor. I had to fail so much that I regret not doing that. I wish I had just paid to have somebody teach me.
I love that. What about you, Jamie?
I think I had a similar situation with not having a commercial broker mentor. I had to learn it myself. Probably the biggest mistake I made was acting like I knew what I was talking about, and that is why commercial agents won't call you back, because the humility isn't there, and they are kind of jerks a lot of times. But the reality is, they don't call you back because they don't want to waste 20 minutes on a call that's not going to do anything. And so I found out really quickly that if I said to a commercial agent, hey, I'm going to apologize in advance, I don't know what I'm doing, I'm just getting started in commercial, the response was, no problem, I'll walk you through it. And when people say that to me, I say, no problem, I'll walk you through it. And I don't eat their lunch either, because I could do that. But just being upfront about what I don't know and not trying to act like I know something I don't is huge. The guys in my group, a couple of them are here, we've all talked about this. Like, if we're talking to somebody and they say a phrase and I don't know what that phrase means, they hear me on the phone now say, I have no idea what that means. What's that mean? And, oh, well, it means this. I mean, it actually makes them feel good because they get to tell me something I don't know. So just be humble.
Love that. I had the pleasure of working under Pat Brakefield here at Charles Hawkins Company as my mentor, and there is nothing like a Marine yelling at you when you are 21 years old, telling you what not to do. And so I'm very thankful for that. But I was also a little bit cocky, so to speak, and was also a little bit outside of the box, as you can tell with my pink, for industrial brokers. And so I went on my merry way and just fell on my face until I got my brokerage set up. How is commercial real estate different from residential? And kind of touch on the key differences in deals, timelines, and clients.
Well, actually, I want to talk about one more thing in that regard. So there is a misconception that you can make more money in commercial than you can in residential. And I want to just tell you right now that if, in order to be successful in commercial real estate, you can't be part-time and you have to be professional. So in order for you to do that, if you did that in residential, you can make every bit as much money as you could in commercial. So when you're looking at the two, if you're looking at it as a lifestyle choice versus a profession, then the lifestyle choice for commercial real estate is going to be very different than the lifestyle choice for the residential side. So first off, that's also important, right? But it's also the length of the deal, how long it takes, not only from the time you engage a client to finding them the location, to going under contract, to closing. The sales cycle is much, much longer. The number of vendors that you have to have in your arsenal is vastly different and much, much more complex. You have to have grit. There is no crying in baseball or in commercial real estate because it is really, really difficult. And there are oftentimes when you are still negotiating at the closing table, and the deals can still die there. Not so. I'm not trying to scare you away from it, but I'm just giving you the benefit of that. The good news is I'm never bored. I like that. I crave that. I need to have constant learning. I need to have that. So not an adrenaline junkie per se, but it helps to be that person.
What about you, Jamie?
The key differences are they're absolutely not even remotely the same.
Yes.
Like it's like I'd say this sometimes at Compass, because I'm at a residential brokerage that has a small commercial element, but I like that because I like being there, and I just love my broker. She's amazing.
She's also right there.
Yeah, that's why I didn't cuss the first time. No, so I enjoy that, but what I say to them is, hey, I'm a dentist and you're an eye doctor. And if somebody needs a root canal and you try to perform it, you are not going to serve that person very well because you're an eye doctor. And that's what residential agents do, is they do residential. Commercial agents do commercial. So they're very, very different in a lot of ways. And now I, unlike Jana, like to be bored. And I have specialized in a specific type of real estate. So we do things a lot the same over and over and over again. But I'm never bored. She's right. People can retrade at the table. It happens. Wes, how often do we get retrades in the last day? I mean, it's awesome when that happens.
We love that.
And the words are different. We call it retrading in commercial. You guys don't call it that in residential.
What do we call it?
I don't know. Negotiating a lower price? I don't know.
They call it like contract breach.
Yeah. So the other thing is, and I'll tell you this, if you are wading in the commercial waters, and all the brokers plug their ears, if you are wading in the commercial waters and you try to bring a TAR form to a commercial agent, we are going to eat you alive. Because TAR form translates as, I don't know what I'm doing in commercial. The TAR forms, the commercial TAR forms suck. And that's just my opinion. And I also don't write my contracts, FYI. I do write my LOIs, but I don't write my contracts. I have an attorney write my contracts because that's a legal document and I'm not an attorney. And so it would be foolish for me to act like one. But these are just some of the things that you have to think about in commercial. Yesterday, for example, we put a new building under contract, and this was something that our group is buying. I had to order a ESA, a PCR, a roof inspection, an HVAC inspection, an Alta survey, and a title report. That's about $20,000. Now, you probably don't know what half of that stuff is that I said, But that's something we have to do on every deal. That $20,000 gets spent. That's it. It's gone. If we don't close on the deal, it's gone. And so they're very different, and you have to be okay with some risk.
And actually, that brings me to a really important distinction. Residential real estate is consumer-based and consumer-protected.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Commercial real estate is buyer beware. And so in the laws conspire to protect the consumer in residential real estate. If you don't have a good commercial broker helping you buy commercial real estate, you are very exposed if you're just getting into it.
Yeah.
So it's very important that you whether you pick one of us, pick somebody. And it actually is interesting because we represent a lot of residential brokers. As commercial brokers, we represent residential brokers who want to buy commercial real estate. Even brokers, like as in managing brokers, who want to buy their own stuff. So I think that's an important distinction.
I've done a number of 1031 deals for Compass agents that are moving from California and selling their house for $1 bazillion and moving here and buying a cheap house in the Grove. And they still have $10 million left over, and somehow they figured out how to 1031 that. And it does happen. You're absolutely right.
Absolutely. I tell people that the difference between commercial and residential is the difference between chess and checkers. Same board, very different games. With chess, man, if you are playing with a shark,
She looks at me.
you're going to be out. Checkers is a little more straightforward, a little more like you can pick yourself up after a really good game and play again and again and again. It does take, like they said, a little bit more grit, and also putting your thinking hat on. I know in law, anything you say can and will be used against you. Same for commercial. And then same with those contracts. It doesn't matter if they breach the contract. It only matters if they want to pay an attorney to go after it in court for the next couple of years. And same on the broker side. If they decide to write your commission out of that contract at the last minute at the table, their attorney, if you haven't given them the attorney, hopefully you've got a great recommended attorney that wouldn't do that to you. You have now just spent years of your life helping somebody for free. So it all comes back to what can you get done in court versus in your contracts, and it's a very different game. Career pathways. What are some of the common steps to actually get started on a career path in commercial real estate, if that's something that interests you, versus saying, you know what, I don't know about this, I'm just going to refer it out?
So that's actually a good question for me, because we interview people who are residential agents who are thinking about doing commercial probably once every 2 weeks or so. And the vast majority of them, I talk them out of doing that. And I am willing to talk to anyone about what it really is going to look like. We are actually one of the few firms that have the ability to create that path. So you can go and find someone who will allow you to be their junior. It depends on, I guess, whether you want to stay where you're at with the company you're at now, or whether you want to change to another to an actual commercial brokerage. If you are in a company where the broker does not have expertise in commercial real estate, and they may or may not know better to not let you do that, then I would get with a mentor and a coach as soon as possible. Number one. Number two, if you are considering doing it seriously and there's an appeal and you're just deeply curious about all things commercial, and you really are willing to make that leap, then have a conversation with me and I'll talk to you about what that actually is going to look like. There are a couple of different paths you can do. There are companies that are residential who have a commercial arm. That's actually how I started. I initially started with KW Commercial. I never did residential, but I was an agent through KW Commercial, but I didn't have a mentor. They did have national education that allowed me to do that. So I still had to make all the mistakes. And then that's how I know Jamie, is that I went to Compass for a year and a half, thinking that we might be able to do some stuff on the commercial side. And it ended up that for our brokerage, we only do commercial, and we needed to have the national name and the national reach. And so I have absolutely nothing bad to say about Compass. And I think it's still a great company, and obviously have really good relationships with people there. I wish that someone had just told me, if you're going to do commercial, just do commercial, because it's an opportunity cost. There is a direct correlation to how quickly you specialize in how much money you're going to make. So initially, if you are trying to do both and be a jack of all trades, you are going to be an expert in none. You really need to just pick one, pick a lane, get in it, do it. Even if you fail, even if you have to switch lanes, but the opportunity cost, if you are going to be in a residential brokerage dabbling in commercial, it's going to take you 10 to 20 times longer to be actually competitive than it would be if you just went over. Now, the problem with that is, even if you go into a commercial company, if you're coming with no base knowledge, it's probably going to take you a year to make more than $30,000 or $40,000, and you aren't going to be able to make serious money for at least 3. And anybody who tells you differently is lying.
Amen.
So it sounds like a really bad deal. However, you can make anywhere up to $250,000 to $1 million in commission in commercial real estate within the first 5 years. So it just depends on who you are and where you want to be. But if you're going to start, get with somebody who knows more than you, get the education that you need. That might mean CCIM or SIOR, and make sure that you have a broker who understands commercial. If those are not, if I have said something and you're at a company that doesn't have that, either switch companies or get their permission to get a mentor, right, to be able to help you that is outside of your brokerage, and buckle in, because it's going to be an education wild ride, but specialize as quickly as possible. Did I say anything untrue?
I don't know that I need to even add anything to that.
One hat that Jamie has that is unique is that he does have a team. And so I think a team environment, you get not just the knowledge of your mentor, but you also get the knowledge and mistakes of your teammates. And I think
I'd speak to that.
speak to that.
So I would, to reiterate one thing, pick a horse. Definitely pick a horse. Don't try to do residential and commercial. Am I guilty of doing a residential deal here and there? Of course, because I'll have a friend that says, hey, I want to live in your neighborhood, and why wouldn't I take $60,000, right? But personally, I don't market or attempt to find residential deals. The only time I ever do one is if it falls in my lap and it's a close friend. But even then, like I've started, I just referred a fairly large listing to a residential agent in our office, and just because I don't want to deal with it. And so, you really should pick a horse. In our team, for example, we have at least I have a heavy vision of investors. And I'm an investor. I own a bunch of industrial properties. And I think that is the clear path for a commercial person, is you learn how to broker, you learn how to put deals together. And someday, the first time I ever bought a building, I did a $20 million commercial deal that paid a full commission. So I had some cash, and I went and bought a building with it. And that building became another building and another building. So I got my seed money on a deal, bought a big building, and it's launched an entirely new career for me as an investor. And so but one of the things that benefited me in that was knowing how to do leasing. Leasing is something that most commercial people don't want to do. Some do. Jana does it, and they do a terrific job. We do leasing, but I think leasing is kind of similar to the residential deal in time frame. Often it can close a lot faster than a sale can. Now, Brian told me a story just a little bit ago where a lease took a year. Wes and I could tell lots of stories about stuff like that.
Commercial leases take a long.
They can take a while. They can also take a week, and so but most of the time they take a while. But they are so valuable to learn because if you want to bring value to an investor, you better understand leasing because a building is worth what the lease says it's worth, not what the comps say it's worth. And so,
Say that again, please.
a building is worth what the lease says it's worth, not what the comps say it's worth. I can buy a building for $1 million and lease it for $1,000 a month. That is now $12,000 a year. Now, if you take that and divide it by 7%, that'll tell you how much that building's worth. And it ain't $1 million. But if I buy that building for $1 million and I lease it for $10,000 a month, that building at a 6% cap rate is now worth $2 million. And I can sell that lease and that real estate because I'm selling an income, not a building. And that is incredibly important to understand. We're doing a deal right now with a medical building, which I don't do multifamily or medical for the most part. If you need a multifamily person, Jana and Brian are rock stars. We focus heavily on industrial. We do some office, we do some retail, but our heavy focus is industrial. But we're doing a medical building right now just because it was referred and it was small. And the guy decided to sell his business. So we've now taken it to a business broker, and what I instructed the business broker was, listen, when you guys go to sell this business, before you sell the business, let me write the lease that the guy is leasing from himself so that we don't lose value in our building. Because if you write the lease too cheap to try to sell the business for more, the building value goes down, and this guy needs to sell his building. And so there's something to this. So our team, we start with leasing. Tanner is he does sales, but he's doing lots of leases. And leasing teaches you how to make a building more valuable. Then once you transition from leasing, at least in our team, we go to sales. And yeah, sales is great. It takes a long time. 6 months is a typical sales cycle, I would guess, wouldn't you? 6 months, maybe? 3 to 6 months?
Depends on if it's land or if it's a building.
Oh, yeah, if it's a land, you could be... Spring Hill. If you're trying to do a piece of land in Spring Hill, they will show you on their website when your property will get approved, and it is at least 12 months from now. And so if you are going to represent somebody selling land in Spring Hill, you need to tell them your due diligence period is going to be 12 months, not 30 days or something foolish like that. And by the way, we run into this when residential agents list commercial. We send them an LOI with a 60-day due diligence period because that's how long it takes minimum to get stuff done.
And they have a heart attack.
And then they come back at 14 days. And I'm like, we can't get it done in 14 days. We need, Ben does ESA. ESA is environmental phase ones. Ben does property condition reports. What, 30 days to get those back? I mean, give or take. Survey is going to take 60 days, especially if it's an alter. I mean, just these things take time. Sorry, I'm totally.
I love it, and y'all are speaking my language with development. Y'all, if you are wanting to rezone, reclassify, build out, just go ahead and add a couple of years to that timeline because it's going to take a long time. I did a large development deal in North Nashville. We were under contract for 2 years before it closed. And we had to go through every layer and hoop to get that deal done. And by the time it happened, the buyer was walking away with an asset that was worth over 10 times what he was paying for it. Mm-hmm. One thing to note, though, and y'all can attest to this, is time kills all deals. So even though we're saying, yeah, it's a reality of commercial real estate, The longer that timeline goes, the less likely you're gonna go to the closing table. So always remember that. Just put your little spectacles on when you're thinking about how can we speed this up or minimize barriers. Sometimes that's on the front end if you're trying to sell by getting it sale ready. And by sale ready, you get that Alta survey before you hit the market. You get all the documentation before you go to market. You get your leases buttoned up, all of that instead of doing it afterwards. Yes. Okay, now we're going to go into financials and reality check. The things that everybody loves. I will attest to, you can't necessarily make more in residential versus commercial. It really is putting on your professional hat and picking your lane and staying in it and learning everything you can about it. Let's talk about this. How much do new agents really make? First year, first 3 years. When I started, I was told first year, 15K, 30 if you're really killing it. And I was like, whoa, I need more savings. And I was lucky enough, I was able to double down on my architecture consulting to bridge the gap. Second year, I was told, 30 to 75. You better be kind of hitting it 50 there, 75 if you're doing a great job. That was about right. But again, this was 10 years ago, so it might be different now. And then I was told if I have not made over 6 figures by my third year in real estate, I will crash and burn. You've got to get your head over the clouds in your business, or you will burn out and hit the ground, and you will be starting in a new career, new industry with nothing. Now tell me what you tell your agents and your team to set expectations.
Well, our team's a little different because they walk into business. I will say this, Wes, correct me if I'm wrong. Wes runs our team. I think after their first year, they have to make 100,000 to stay on the team. Is that the number we've said? Is that Tanner? Is that what you've heard? So
That gross commission.
that's their income.
Okay.
Yeah. Now, we don't want people that don't produce, because Compass limits the amount of people I can have on my team without me paying additional money for them. And I get that. There's a reason they do that. It makes sense, but I have to have people that make money, or they're sitting in a spot that doesn't make me any money. And so we have a very intentional idea there. But what I do know is this: activity breeds activity. And so if you get started in this and you're not busting hump all day long trying to get things going, you're never going to get things going, and you just never know where a deal might come from. I will give you a really funny example. I'm sitting. How many people in here are watch people? Any guys in here love watches? Tanner, I know you are. You are? Okay. So for you watch people, I'm a Panerai fanatic. Okay, I love Panerai. Panerai is a really cool brand. But I'm sitting at coffee not too long ago, maybe half a year ago, and I'm having a meeting with a friend, and really just catching up. And I'm wearing one of my Panerais. And this guy comes over, and he goes, dude, love the pan. And I'm like, thanks. I said, what's your name? And he introduced himself. He said, I just moved here from Bend, Oregon. Awesome. What are you doing here? And he tells me, he goes, as a matter of fact, if you guys know, you guys been here for a while, if you know anybody that's got an office space that they want to sublease, I'm desperate for a 2,000 square foot office space to sublease for 2 years, and I can't find one. Literally, one day before that, I listed a 2,000 square foot office space to sublease in Franklin. And I was like, okay, what are you doing right now? He goes, what do you mean? I said, let me take you to one. And we signed a contract the next day. But that was me sitting there at coffee with somebody. I mean, you just never know. That's not a big deal. But that deal has led to multiple referrals from him of other people moving from Bend, Oregon that need office space. because he was a financial advisor. So you just never know. And so I would say the question was, how much do new agents make? I've had agents that have worked with me that have made $0. I've had agents that have worked with me that made over 150 in their first year. A lot of it's luck. Some of it is grit, but I can tell you the ones that did better were the ones that were busting their tail and chasing leads and following up and working. Commercial is 9 to 5, Monday through Friday. If you call a commercial agent at 6 o'clock and they don't answer, don't be offended, because that's why we chose commercial. We don't want to work at night. If you call a commercial agent on Saturday and they don't answer, don't be offended. We don't want to work Saturdays. We won't work Sundays. So
Generally, if you call them on Fridays, they won't answer because they're out golfing and networking and working their spheres of
it is a
influence.
big lifestyle difference, guys. It is.
They are
But there,
hidden.
but there are other reasons to do residential. So it's not better. It's just different.
So I would say I'm going to get granular on the expectations, because we have an internship program. We have 2 interns coming. One's coming from UT Knoxville and one is coming from Austin P. They are both graduating in finance with real estate emphasis. And so they're coming in with that. And I will, and we have hired interns from that program. But when they come over, even with that background and that academic background, it's not realistic for them to expect to make more than $40,000 or $50,000 that first year. If they are brand new out of school, they're young. They have no life experience. They don't speak rich jerk yet. They're just not. They have to have there's a long ramp for them. We've also had people come from businesses that were where they have a business that they own and they sell their business, and they have a lot of life experience and already know sales and already know negotiations. And when they come on board, I'm not teaching them how to adult. I'm not teaching them, a lot of that, and they will make that first year, 100,000. And then we have those people who came from the residential side who've been doing it well, but they just really, really want to do commercial. They were already making $200,000 or $300,000 on the residential side. They come on board, and it is not unrealistic for them because they have a very strong hustle muscle. For them to make $250,000 their first year. So
hustle muscle.
So you have to. Well, we say, and this is regardless of who you are. If you want to work for me, and I suspect this is probably the same for you. And I don't. I'm assuming, but you got to have batteries included. Have strong hustle muscle. You have to be bilingual. Your primary language better not be rich jerk, but you got to be fluent in it. Right? And you have to be able to have grit. So I'm eliminating 80% of not just residential realtors, but people in general. Yeah. Right?
Can I add one element to that?
Sure.
If you operate with emotions, do not.
Yes.
Because you will get your butt handed to you. If you are emotional about things, if you get your feelings hurt easy, if you get worked up, if you want to argue all the time, stay in residential where emotions are welcome.
And that doesn't matter. And it doesn't matter your gender, by the way. Because I will have even a lot of people will say to me, well, what's the biggest difference between commercial and residential? And I'll say, it's not a matter of not having to deal with emotions. It's if you internalize them. Because if you're at the closing table and you have, $80 million on the line, I'm telling you, emotions are going to be high. But can you deal with that? Can you sit there and be calm and not dissolve? And that is not a gender-related thing. Because there are men who can't do that either, right? But if you're a woman, that's kind of a tricky thing because you have to be able to do that. And so if you're considering doing commercial real estate, be honest with yourself, right? Because if you can't do that, if you're not doing that now as a residential agent, don't even think about it.
Yeah.
Because you're going to hate it. I'm
Well,
saving you from yourself.
and you will get pushback that it's not personal, it's business.
And it really is
And
not personal.
For the
Although
majority,
sometimes the swagger,
Sometimes it gets personal.
sometimes it gets
does.
personal. We're not going to lie about that.
But decisions aren't made on a building based on emotions. For example, in the residential world, somebody would go in and not buy a house because they don't like the colors in the kitchen. Now, being a completely logical thinker, that is so stupid to me because I'm like, well, does
Change
it
the
work?
paint.
Yeah, like who cares? Like just freaking buy it. Is it a good deal? Buy it. But people, I mean, I just remember back in my residential days because I did residential. I remember this was probably the switch point for me. I was in a house in the Governor's Club that had just been renovated. It was like $4 million, and it was the nicest house I've ever been in my life. Like I'm a country boy. This was fabulous. And this lady walks in and she goes, "Oh my God, this kitchen is so ugly. I'll have to tear everything out of here before I ever leave in here." And I said, "Okay, like this is I can't do this."
I'm done.
Because I really wanted to make fun of her to her face. And that's so bad because she was such a moron. And in commercial, we don't do like it's all numbers. Now, the building has to be functional for the business or for whatever the use is. But at the end of the day, if the numbers don't work, I don't buy a building. Not going to do my clients. Does not matter how pretty it is. Doesn't matter where it's sitting. It doesn't matter location. That is important, but it doesn't. If it's overpriced, location doesn't mean anything. And so, it's very different. There's no emotional decision making. It's logic. Would you agree with that?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I will say, your job is to be the logical one. You can't always guarantee that your clients
Well, that's true.
are logical.
Actually,
What you
your
got
job
there.
is to buffer both sides.
Yeah.
That is your job. And if you can't take being the buffer from both sides, and I think because people there's posturing and swaggering and if they get and actually one of the biggest mistakes that you can make as a commercial agent is to let them talk to each other.
Absolutely.
Because if you do that, your deal is done. And so your job is to keep control of the deal and not let them talk. That is your job. You cannot do that.
And they will try.
For all my football fans, you are the quarterback. You direct and control everybody on that team. If someone goes rogue, you pass the ball, you're out. You have to be in control of the ball all the way to the finish line. And so that's why those relationships are so important. And it's not just about your relationships with your other brokers. They are key. That's key to getting some callbacks is actually knowing who you're calling and building rapport and talking deals and learning. But knowing the engineers. I've had so many engineers that I've hired that have killed my deals. And then I've had to go hire another one to do what I want.
Any person that touches a commercial deal can kill it.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So it's more about not just the deal, but also being a leader for your clients, killing your own deals. I have talked to my clients out of so many deals. Sometimes I just go home and I'm like, I'm just a deal killer this month. Like, I don't know what else to say. Like, I could have gotten some really good sales, but it was not in their best interest. And that's your job, is to put the interest of the client.
That's fiduciary duty.
Okay, so we've got a small amount of time. I know y'all are dying with questions. We probably have time for 2 questions. Who wants to go?
I can be here until 11:30 if anybody wants to talk afterwards.
Same.
I have a property in Music Row that's a duplex, and it is not commercial, but I'm amazed. I have investors calling me from all over the country. One guy from Bend, Oregon yesterday, and he said, well, we buy property all over the country. and and I've gotten so many calls. Well, exactly what is that? I said it's on the listing, but anyway, and he said, well, I'm very interested, and I'm waiting. But I'm amazed that people from all over the country are calling me to find out more. And this isn't even technically commercial, but it's multifamily. And it could be taken down, and you could put two on it, and it's Music Row. But I just wondered,
How
um,
much is it?
it's um, today it's 780, but we're negotiable. Such a deal.
What?
Yes.
So,
And so what's your question?
The question is this normal? People
yeah,
from all over the country calling.
because you've likely undervalued it.
Or there's a use for it that's beyond residential that you're not aware of.
Right.
Which means you've undervalued it.
So,
I've undervalued
Or not. Or not. You didn't undervalue it.
sure, I know Jamie's going to call clients.
If
and
you
get
would
this
like
done.
one of us to take a look at it, I can give you my card, and then I'll be happy to look at it and tell you what.
I got the brochure right here.
So,
Yes.
Well, I don't want your information. I'm gonna take my information, and no offense, but I have access to a lot more data than you do on properties. And I'm saying that with respect.
so often what happens in residential markets, or residential properties, especially multifamily, is they are within a zoning overlay. That gives you a lot of flexibility of what can be done with that property in the future. And it goes into a highest and best use case scenario. The highest and best use case is likely not, you said 2 units?
You could take it down and put 2 units.
The highest and best use case on Music Row in Music City is not 2 residential rentals. It is a commercial building.
It's not zone commercial.
That doesn't.
It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter because it's in an overlay and it's surrounded by commercial.
You can get the zoning changed.
And it may take 6 months,
Mhm.
but if you can get the zoning change in 6 months and double the value of it,
Let us
look at it.
hey, I called it first.
Wait.
Well, actually, send it to him. Actually, but
I'm joking.
the multifamily is my husband's specialty. That's actually what he does. So
We do a lot of that. My first home, I bought in 5 Points. I rezoned it, doubled in value. It was and sold.
and I can give you
And-
lots of stories of that, of very similar things.
Planning
Where,
Commission in writing said it probably can't be done. I have it in writing from them saying no.
well,
Just
Planning
So that-
Commission
so
does
maybe-
not decide what can and can't be done with your property. But great question.
They think they do. They
next
think they got way more power.
I'll say a first year agent can make, 40, 50. How do those smaller income dealers that?
Well, in our case, we feed, and I would suspect with you and your team, we feed them a lot of leads that first year. I actually take pains to try to bring people in on deals early on so that they can stay fed. Something else, though, I will say, and this is, you're not going to like to hear this, but I don't let anybody work at another job while they're working for me unless it's in the evenings or on the weekends. And so you're pretty much guaranteed to starve. So it is part of the reason why we do that is we want you to be motivated to get out there and hustle. Remember, we teach you how to be successful. We feed you leads. We give you the team camaraderie and the culture that you're going to need to be. And we also share our vendors. So by affiliating with, the Brandenburg team or with us, you're walking into a scenario where 90% of the battle is won. But that hustle muscle has got to be yours. And if you don't come in and hustle, then we can't help you with that.
So there's a fine line too between hungry, because I've hired lots of agents that weren't hungry enough to deal with the blows that they were going to get. And they would just, parents, this happens a lot in commercial real estate. The parents are wealthy and they want their portfolio to stay in the family. And so their children take it on, but they're not hungry and they're making mistakes. So there's a fine line between not hungry enough to go hustle. So you don't want to have that other job because you're not going to do the hard things. You're not going to talk to people that are outside of your comfort. But then there's also another deal killer, which is a desperate salesman.
Yes.
And you get a
Commission
smell.
breath.
You get a smell on you, and it will
Did you
just
call it
start.
commission breath?
Yeah, if you need,
Could I get a list of all of your phrases? Because
it's true.
I am cheeky. It is true.
People can
You do have to
smell
put up with me if you come and work for me. So there's that.
People can smell it, and your deals will drop like flies as soon as you need that money. And so you've always got to really be a good steward of your money first before you can be a good steward of other people's largest asset portfolio.
And I actually won't hire you if you have problems with credit. Because if you can't pass a background check with me, then if a family office is going to be checking us out, then you can't come work for me. So fix that. And I have paths for even that. If you are a really good residential agent and you have had a divorce or bankruptcy or whatever, then let's have a conversation about what that could look like if you want to get into commercial. We can even create a path for you for that, but it's not a quick fix and it's going to take some time. So, I'm not going to say no to anyone, but it will no for now. Here's what you need to do. And if you're willing to do what I tell you to do and you do the homework, then I can create that path for you.
To answer your question, if you're just starting out on your own and you're not joining a team and you're hoping to get your business going that first year, you have to get really entrenched in your market niche. So when I was first starting, I what's called strip mapped my area of focus. And then I'm telling y'all, young and dumb 21-year-old went door knocking in East Nashville back in 2010. That's not where you want to be. And I counted how many people called me that day. And I said, hoorah, I'm doing a great job. But I knew every property and everything there was to know about all of those properties within my first year. And I dropped off value for the owners. And I said, no one's going to get you more for this property than I will. And it worked. I got some leases. I got some deals. I know leasing can be a dirty word because if you really look at a commission, you're going to make about 1 month's rent on your commission for a 3-year lease, plus or minus. And that's not a lot of money.
Well, can I add something to that? So there is a way for you to make money doing commercial real estate while you're a residential agent. And it's called a referral. And the reason why I say that is we received, this is an example of a commission check we paid in a referral fee. So a residential agent gave us a referral last year for and I'm the managing broker, so I gave it to one of my team members. It took him a year to the day to sign that lease. The residential agent who gave him that referral, her check was $88,000. So it is, and that was for a lease, by the way.
Big
It was a big lease, but all she did was give us a name. So there's a reason why our company is one of the most referred, if not the most referred independent commercial brokerage in the Greater Nashville area by residential agents. I said independent because you get a lot of referrals. But I think but if you're here today and we've scared you away from residential or from commercial real estate, there is a way for you to do that. And when you're making your calls, you just simply say, when you're making your calls and you say, do you have anybody who wants to buy or sell residential? Then you say, what about commercial? Do you know of anybody who wants to do that? I have really great partners that can help you with that. And then you can make those commission checks.
is churches, is that considered commercial?
Yeah.
Or it is, okay.
Yes.
My church, who already sold their church for 4.5 million anyway, we're renting and we're looking to buy a warehouse. So, and it's kind of like, and,
Can I give you some pointers on that?
yes.
Only have one person actually looking. Do not shotgun search.
That's what they're doing.
That is the number one mistake. Number two, have the person that's looking actually have the financial authority to sign the deal.
It's a board that'll sign.
But they still have to be, so then all of them need to be included in all of the emails. And number three, they have to have someone's name on the purchase or the lease. And because most of those are going to still require a personal guarantee. And churches don't like that, but they have to be prepared to do that in today's market. So if you want more information about that, then let me know. I will help them, but I will make it be really hard.
Usually it's the trustee that is handling the signings. And so that.
And does the denomination have a say above and beyond? There's a lot of
The conference.
It does not, but you're right.
There's a lot of nuances in churches. Yes. But yes, it's a commercial function.
It varies.
It can vary, but the most common way a commercial lease is paid is like this. It's called aggregate of base rent. So if you pay $1,000 a month for 5 years, that's $60,000. And then you get paid a percentage of that. Depending on the asset class, an asset class is industrial or retail or office, or those are asset classes. Depending on the asset class, you're likely going to get 3 or 4% of that total aggregate base rent, not additional rents, not CAMs or triple nets. Mm-hmm. And so it's in that way, it's kind of paid like a residential deal, and you can make good money on it. I mean, the one that they described with the $88,000 referral fee, that was probably a 10-year lease on 35,000 square feet that probably leased out at $40 a month or something crazy like that.
That actually is, you're right on, right.
Yep. And so you take 35,000 times $40 times 10 years, but there's also escalators each year, so maybe the rent goes up 3 or 4% each year. So you have to add those escalators in, and then you take that total, $10 million, whatever it was, and you get they probably got 4% on that one, and so that's how much they get. Now you get paid 50% of that when the lease gets signed and the security deposit is put in, and you get the other 50% when they move in and make their first month's rent payment. Because a lot of times when we do a lease, there's a build-out period, or there's what we call rent abatement, which is where you get to live there for free for a little while, and during those periods, you don't typically get paid the second half of your commission until they're occupying the space and running their business out of it and have paid their first month's rent.
A couple of other things to note is on the leases that not all landlords are sophisticated. And there are some landlords that will try to pay you on a monthly basis over the period of the term, which is such a pain in the neck to administrate. Another thing to keep in mind with that is that in the event that you are doing that leasing, make sure you are talking about commissions up front in every single case. So I know that with the NAR settlement that basically states that, the buyers, now you have to have the buyer's rep. That's always been the case in our world. The first question is it available? Second question is, are you going to allow for our use? And third is, what is the commission that is available? If you don't ask up front, do not assume you're going to get paid, whether it's a buy, sell, or on a lease. Because in commercial, until you talk about it and you get it in writing, you are working for free. Just so you know.
And even if you do get it in writing,
you may have to go to court.
You may have to go to court to still get that commission. One strategy with leasing that I will say is a benefit, even though the monthly checks are a nightmare to administer, there are a couple of benefits. You get a lot of those going, and now you have residual income. You have a salary. Second benefit is they keep you in contact with your clients because their client's going to call you first. That's a pain, but you are their first call, which makes you in control when they want to sell their property, when they want to do anything with their property, and you continue to provide value. We also personally charge more in commission, sometimes double, if they want to go that route. So my business, my rules, I charge more for if you want to pay me over the term. That means I'm going to have monthly QuickBooks invoice going out. You're going to pay it, but you're going to pay more.
Good question. I'll add one thing that we didn't say. If you're getting started as a residential agent switching to commercial, and you don't have a CoStar subscription, you have already lost. It's expensive to be a commercial agent. I don't know what I spend a month on all of our subscriptions. Janice spends, she's telling me about some of the stuff she pays for. I'm guessing $4,000 or $5,000 a month is what I spend. I honestly haven't sat down and added it up. CoStar alone, because we have a national account through Compass, I get a discount, but CoStar is like $500, $600, $700. Crexy is $250. If you want to list on LoopNet, it's $100 per listing, and you have to sign a year plan for
Whether
each
you
listing.
use it or not.
Use it or not. So if you want one listing on LoopNet, it's $100 and some, and you're committed for 12 months, whether you use it or not. We have 18 listings on LoopNet. Yes.
We've got cultural reps here. So
Yeah.
Yeah.
LoopNet is but
We have a love-hate relationship.
We have a love-hate relationship with CoStar and LoopNet.
Here all the time.
But
we love the data.
But if you don't have
We
a
hate writing that
CoStar
check.
subscription, you are not a serious commercial agent. Just refer them to Janet or myself.
You're behind the eight ball. On your resources page, if you are on your way out, grab that. It kind of has some of the cost associations with some of these programs. They may be a little low. Obviously you could do a free LoopNet search, but it's not going to show you everything. And so really dive in knowing that your monthly expenses are also going to be a lot higher in commercial real estate. And
your splits are going to be horrendously different also, because you're going to be paying for all of that, whether you're paying it up front as a solo agent doing it your own, or if you're working for someone else, it's going to be coming out of your split. So just know that's also a huge difference is the splits on the commercial side versus the splits on the residential side. It's not there are no 100% or 90% commission ever for any company in commercial, and you can expect an average split to be somewhere between 50 and 60%, where you get the 60, and so just keep that in mind also.
If you source the deal.
If you source the deal.
If the deal comes from the house, it's got to be less because those deals have to be paid.
So it's yeah.
yes,
Residential side, I would highly recommend if you are considering going into commercial real estate to just plan on developing relationships of trust with the other agents.
Yeah.
Because that's how deals get done. On the residential side, you might be able to just focus on the end user, but the market, Nashville, is too small for you to be a jerk as an agent.
Yep.
your reputation precedes you, and people remember how deals go, and that will impact your ability to get opportunities in the future. And just like Jamie was saying, you never know who you're going to meet, who's going to have a need. And I can't count the number of commercial agents that have hired me. I can't count the number of residential agents that have hired me, because real estate, as you all know, is a collaborative team sport. You cannot play alone, and no one wins if we don't do a great job.
Yeah.
These are our panelists. They are members of Greater Nashville Realtors, and they are realtors.
The vast majority are not.
The vast majority are not. If you are doing a deal with a non-realtor member, we would love for you to get them engaged with Greater Nashville Realtors and spread the word that we are professional and we are offering our clients and our business people great resources every step of the way in your business. Okay? Okay.
Yeah, I just wanted to thank our corporate sponsor, Living Hand Mortgage, Cassie and Kevin Henderson over here.
Yes.
Thanks, guys.
Okay. And while y'all are leaving, I'm gonna give y'all his contact, also very cute swag out there if you didn't. At Lending Hand Mortgage, they go beyond financing. They help realtors close more deals and grow their business, which is not something that all lending partners do. With exclusive loan programs, transparent communication, and top-tier marketing support, we make home buying easier for your clients and smoother for you. So whether you're doing residential or commercial, Kevin's your guy. Whether you're first-time home buyer, veterans, or investors, they have solutions that fit your needs and partner with them for successful transactions. And they have been generous enough to provide your lunch. Please connect afterwards with them, and a wonderful partner to have. We really appreciate you being here.